This is an open letter for Mr. Bill Gates. Hello, how are you, sir? And the Sane Society. Hope everyone is good. This is considering the following through with the business of bravoing some of Uncle Sam's managers, so maybe Wells Fargo wouldn't close my bank account. Here's the thing, bravo, Mr. Bill Gates. Bravo. You have, as one of Uncle Sam's managers, manager of decade, if there is a poster, employee of the week, here is a manager of the decade, a good manager of a few decades. So bravo, you have been a great manager, achieved a lot of good things, in terms of technology and all of that. So bravo, thank you. You are bravo. You have won capitalism. You're one of the winners of capitalism. Let's put it this way. Here's the thing. If I had to suggest something, talk bigger than my mouth, and it's an expression in a different language on your planet. So if I had to suggest, I would say great that you're buying farmland, and great that there are a handful of people who are also great owners of great farmland. That's a great thing. Bravo. Again, bravo. You won capitalism and you bought land with it, farmland with it, with the proceedings. Great. And great to, a few people who own very large sums of land, like yourself. Few people, few corporations. Here's a suggestion, sir. All of you should get together and maybe consider that the best use for this land is people living on it. With distant, is in the country living. Maybe you should consider that now that you have increased the productivity of the land by the use of fertilizers and all of that, pesticides and fertilizer, whatever, however you have to produce, you're producing just fine. So you really don't need all the farmland to be at 100% productivity. You see, the problem previously with subsistence farming doesn't make economic sense. We all know that. It doesn't work. It's very, subsistence farmers are usually very poor. But if essential calories are provided, somehow they can go purchase their essential calories. Subsistence farming is actually, the best way to live on your planet, and the best way for the primates to, in small groups of country living. That's the best, primates can achieve. The best climate for primates is within some distance from each other, and that's when they procreate more, or do whatever they have to do during their life. My point is this: to that end, the best use for all this farmable land is half of it be kept as industrial agriculture, and as innovation comes along, these lands are going to be even more productive. Some of it is going to go into indoor production that is even more productive and less wasteful. So because the productivity keeps going up, you can feed the same number of people with smaller and smaller portions of land. So whatever you own, half of it you keep in full industrial production with the best technology for production of the necessary calories, basic calories that this population needs, with some margin of error left on top. But the other half should be turned over to people, to men in specific. Men, human men, mammal, humanoid, should be turned over to men at the beginning of their productive career, productive life, around 18. Right out of school,
Tired of hearing the ads?
right out of school, you have an option right out of high school up to age, let's say, 40. Right out of high school up to age 40, you have the option of apply. Every male member of the society has the option to apply for his piece of land, the 40 acres and one heavy equipment. That is what people can apply for, and that is what you can provide. Take half of the land you own, farming land that you own, and divide it into 40 acre pieces, 50 acre pieces, whatever, and in order to be given to people for just building a family, subsistence farming, building a small family on 40 acres, and a tractor or a loader or an excavator on that piece of land, 40 acres, and one piece of heavy equipment is what they need to start usually. And if the government has to print all this money, let's let them print the money and give it to people as loans to build something on these pieces of land, whatever they decide, commercial silos or whatever that is also appropriate for that area of farm, or build some silos and start working production, whatever. Art doesn't matter, because the idea is their main calories are being provided with the other half of the farms that you own. That's under industrial production. But the rest of this land, the half of the lands that all these big landowners own, half of it should be given to people, period. That's the best you can do as far as your 2 cents for extension of life, intelligent life, half intelligent life on planet Earth. Because distance and land and space, these people can be much more productive. Again, it's not if their basic calories also has to be provided from the other half of lands that you own. That's still under industrial production. But again, this idea will be very helpful for your people, very helpful. Just this is your birthright. You can apply and get it as a male of this species, and who's living on the land between the ages of 18 and 40. So they apply, they're given the piece of land and one piece of heavy equipment, and then they do their business. It's not going to be productive for many years, but his basic calories probably has to be met with some kind of universal basic income that, again, the government has to print money. Why print it and give it to arms manufacturers? Print it and give it to people to print this token and give it to people, so people can hand these tokens in for their universal basic income to eat. And the land and the heavy equipment, whatever business or project they have in mind, is not going to be profitable for years. if it is profitable, they have 25 years on the land, for example, before they have to hand it over, you clean it up and give it to the next guy. People 25 years on a piece of land of their own can do a lot of good. It can, actually reduce the heat within your cities, both physically and metaphorically. Cities with less population are more stable. The higher the population density in a city, the more number of police you have to jam in the smaller and smaller spots. To bring order, because there's so many people, you need so many police or cameras or whatever to bring order. Okay, but if you spread it out, and the reason is that concentration stresses out the environment. The city environment is very stressful, not meant for primates like yourself. So my point is this, that reduce the both and the physical heat. Yeah, of course, the less people in this crowded space, the less heat is produced. But my point is this, it's going to be much more productive for your society. We all know, even if most of them do small scale farming, it's going to be organic farming, and probably half of it they use themselves and the rest of it they sell to their neighbors. It's not going to be very profitable, but the proper base calories are provided by the system, by the more productive farms that Mr. Bill Gates owns. So my point is this, that this will build a much better system. If you want to bring your people really out of slavery, especially now that you have automation and robots doing most of the work, now you're telling me that your population, and with the AI, before this, with the automation, you said we don't need physical labor from our population, and now with the AI you're telling, and automation, you're telling we don't even need mental labor from our population. So do we have to kill ourselves off? Salute. There are a lot of empty planets and livable spaces out there. So I don't think you need to worry about population. There are a lot of empty spaces on Earth, as smarter people than I have mentioned. When you travel by air, especially at night, it's all black. From airplane you look down, 90% of the way it's all black because there's nothing there. And then you see patches. Even when you travel by train at night, or by very poorly lit roads at night in the country, you go hours without seeing anything. And then there is a city on the road. We all have that experience. Those of us who are not flown here and there, Mr. Bill Gates, those of us who are not with helicopter everywhere under security and under a roof, you have to pay attention. Most of the planet is empty. On the other hand, there are a lot of other planets that are livable. So you're not really, short on space, and you're not really short on resources either. I'm not sure what they're fighting in Ukraine for, because Moon has got all the resources you want. What the fuck are you looking for? Everything you want is on the Moon, and the other on a few other local heavenly bodies that you have. What is this fight on the Ukraine for? Again, resources? Are you fucking kidding me? Is the fight in Gaza over beachfront properties? I mean, you know how many miles and miles of beachfront properties that is empty on your planet? the Sane Society. Here's the thing, Mr. Bill Gates. There are many more planets you can populate. If you think 8 billion is too much and having more of the planet be black, that's a better idea. Okay. So killing them off, it really is just stupid. And having them reproduce more, but opening up their way to space instead of killing each other on Earth for access to more resources. And I would suggest you would tell your friends at BlackRock that this is also a bad idea. This idea of killing human beings on land to access to more resources on Earth when there are as much resources as you want outside of Earth. I mean, BlackRock should put its money with SpaceX instead of with Raytheon and Boeing and other arms manufacturers. It's sort of like, no, we don't need arms manufacturers. We need space explorers. Period. If you have any talent in space, please start producing, not to conquer Earth for more resources, but to go space for more resources. If you need them. Yeah, the price is going to be a little higher, but at least you're not killing other primates. You're not killing other primates in the process. You're killing other primates over beachfront properties in some special place. You're killing other primates over, over beachfront properties and resource and what? Fertile soil of Ukraine. Fertile soil and beachfront properties. That's what we kill for. It's the Sane Society. Anyway, my point is this, Mr. Bill Gates. This is stupid. You're much smarter than than me. So I'm sure you can figure out. But here's the thing, sir. I've noticed that you have shut off your comment section on Twitter. You shut off your comment section on Twitter. It's sort of like, no, I don't need to hear from the peasants. I only communicate in one way with the peasants. I tell them and they listen. If they listen, they listen. If they don't listen, we close their bank accounts and put them in a camp. So here's the thing, Mr. Bill Gates. In a camp, in a prison, prison is for people who didn't listen about the rules of the society, but some of them were born into a very, skewed kind of justice, being born poor or with the wrong last name or with the wrong first name in a society, and they always got the shitty end of the stick. They don't have generational wealth to provide them with 40 acres and a loader. They don't have generational wealth. How then that has to be come by? Go work for a lifetime, be a slave in the city for one of these big corporations, which they also no longer want you because, first the physical labor was unnecessary, and then the mental labor has become also unnecessary. So, everybody is a salesman trying to sell a product to each other that has just come out and, try to make a little money on the side by selling these products to each other and creating bubbles, economic bubbles, from Nike shoes to the stock market. Everybody's trying to make a little money by buying and selling shit. And these financial bubbles are formed, and those who are on the know, they're in the cities and they're in the right clubs, so they get in the wave, at the beginning of the wave they get in, and then when the wave goes up, and they make a whole lot of money. James, these people don't have lives, even the rich ones, even the young men don't have. This is not life. This is not productive life. This doesn't teach you anything. Playing Robin Hood doesn't teach you anything. For that, you need 40 acres and a piece of heavy equipment. That's the only way. Time and patience and work produces character. Even the politicians lack character nowadays. All over the Western Hemisphere. I mean, Keir Starmer has no character. Rishi Sunak, these are all frat boys, the shitty ones. The good frat boys, they don't want the job. It's like being in a political leadership is a very shitty kind of business. These are the shitty frat boys who get the jobs. And they royally screw it up. Anyway, the point is this. In order to now that the productivity on the land has increased, and people are no longer, food productivity on the land has increased, and the cities no longer need the concentration of people to work in factories because automation has taken over. You have cities full of people with nothing much to do. So they're trying to cut their life shorter and shorter, whether be it cutting their life physically shorter by drugs, trying to feel a little better than a total loser, living in a cramped hole in the city. You feel as a total loser, and this is when the society doesn't need your physical. When the society says $7.25 an hour is enough for your physical labor, or $8.25 or $15.25 with the inflation, when the society says your labor is not, your physical labor is not worth that much, where the society, half of this 50% of the population society, that's all they have to offer, physical labor. 50% of the societies, and the other 50% who have some cognitive labor to provide those are no longer needed because automation. Even the DoorDash has become automated now in China, at least. Small robots ride on the streets and bring the food around. So nothing. Everybody's supposed to live on, participating in these Ponzi schemes of sneaker prices, and tulips and sneakers and stocks, and let's put in some money so we can get a little more out, so maybe we can provide for our life. Really? Yeah, here's the thing. If you don't do this, Mr. Gates, then in a decade, in 5 years, in 2 years, in 5 years, in a decade, in 2 decades, who knows? You're going to end up with collective farms. That means they're going to forcefully remove all your land, and then they're going to start going towards communism and collective farms, and that's also wrong. That collective farm doesn't work with the primates. It works with bees, but it doesn't work with primates. So if you don't want to avoid collective farms in the West, you can also go down the British path. The British have decided they don't want collective farms. So and they don't want to let go of their privately owned land, which is owned by the royal family, and their clan and a few other clans own most of the private, most of the land in England is owned by these private, families. Most of the land in England is owned by these rich families. Just like you are owning land, and a few other people are just buying, all the land that they can. Yeah, that's natural. It's earth, and land is limited. So, but the idea is what the British have done is horrible. The conclusion that they have reached is that we are going to kill off as soon as our peasants overpopulate. We take them. We start a war in Europe, or Asia, or Africa, or Americas. We start a war. We take a bunch of our people over there, and we kill them off under the banner of the monarch, God, queen, and country, whatever banner we have to put up in order to have a bunch of fools follow us and kill themselves off. Because we are in a small island, and most of the land is privately owned, and we can't allow the peasants to overpopulate, because then we're going to have a revolution. If you have this kind of solutions in mind, Mr. Gates, then good for you, but it's not productive humanity kind of wise. It's not productive in a way that Elon Musk is advertising, which I think is a good idea. It's sort of like you got a lot of black empty space on your planet, which could be lit in, and people could be working and doing something with their lives that will it's creativity. Anything they do, from farming to art, it's all creativity. Whatever path that these people choose to take, and they make whatever they do, they make some money, and that would be their life, and that would be their savings, and they have the land for, let's say, 25 years or 50 years or whatever, and then they hand it back, but they can take all the profits and all the savings that they have made during those years of working on the land and producing something and making something. They have some productivity. After 25 years they can take with themselves and move back to the cities. Because here's the thing, Mr. Bill Gates, cities are for old people. Cities are not for young people. Young people need space to grow, and cities don't provide space to grow. Not if you can afford a penthouse, yes, you have space to grow even in a city. But if you don't have a penthouse, you don't have much room to grow in the city. You can't grow in a studio apartment in Phoenix, Arizona. You can't grow there. And a lot of middle-aged men and women are more and more living in a studio or one bedroom or two bedroom small jammed apartment in center of cities. So they have less kids, no kids, and just fuck around. That is not a very productive thing to do for young people. You want families, and you want more people. Then you send them to space. They can live on other planets. There are a lot of empty spaces in the Milky Way. There is a lot of livable empty spaces on the Milky Way. It's obvious, from the numbers. People much smarter than I have figured out. So this idea of no, have all the young people live in the cities, all that energy has to go. What? All that energy of young people in small cramped areas in the cities has to go into brothels, gambling houses, clubs, doing useless activities such as jumping around in very crowded places. Salute. Cities are good for old people. Everything is close by, and old people are usually, happier to see each other than young people. It's a hormonal. So old primates are much happier to see each other than young primates. Young primates are usually in the stages of jealousy and selfishness and jealousy and greed and want, and that's it. Those are the characteristics of young people. So you should spread them out, because this kind of mental thing that the primates have, that when they're young, due to their hormonal levels, they have a nasty nature. Young primates don't have a very good nature. They have a very nasty nature. The older they get easier to talk to. So older people can live together jammed in small cities or large cities, because old people can get along. It's the young people you should worry about if you don't want a revolution, if